3.46 million tons. Just think about that for a second. Every single year, that staggering volume of municipal solid waste gets loaded onto trucks in Ontario, driven across the border, and buried in Michigan. To put that into perspective for you, Ontario's exported trash makes up a massive 14.35% of all the waste disposed of in Michigan's landfills. We're talking about a highly precarious cross-border flow of physical garbage.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something that's honestly a little mind-bending. We're going to explore a completely counterintuitive thesis. What if the solution to a massive physical garbage crisis isn't just building a bigger truck or digging a deeper landfill, but instead a microscopic cryptographic signature? We're looking at how a company called 95 Wood realized that the answer to physical waste is actually a digital asset. The data, not the wood, is the product.
All right, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap. 1. The cross-border waste crisis. 2. The 2026 tariff wall. 3. Edge AI and silicon. 4. The digital refinery workflow. 5. Bridging to biocarbon markets. And 6. Why the data is the product.
Okay, part 1. The cross-border waste crisis. So Ontario Premier Doug Ford is looking right down the barrel of what the industry calls a 9-year capacity cliff. Because of systemic gridlock preventing any new site development, the province has roughly 9 years of landfill capacity remaining. That means total exhaustion hits around 2034 if that Michigan border suddenly closes. When you're this reliant on exporting your waste just to keep the lights on, a closed border isn't just a minor headache, it's an immediate, full-blown systemic crisis waiting to happen.
Which brings us to part 2, the 2026 tariff wall. Things escalated incredibly fast this year. Looking at the timeline, on July 1st, the formal USMCA annual review process begins. Well, shortly after, on July 20th, Donald Trump's administration in Washington invokes Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930. Now, this is a 96-year-old trade law, and it was used to slap a massive 50% tariff on Canadian imports with absolutely zero USMCA exemptions. By August 19th, those 50% tariffs take effect. Suddenly, the cost of moving materials across that border hits an unprecedented financial wall.
This creates a stark contrast between two entirely different ways of operating. The old model was simple, sure, but totally flawed. Pay to export physical garbage to Michigan landfills. The waste was a liability, and all the economic value left the province entirely. But the new model, which is now basically mandatory because of this capacity cliff and tariff wall, is to process that waste domestically. By keeping the material in Ontario, companies can manufacture certified climate assets, keeping the value securely at home.
Part 3. Edge AI and silicon.
Now, to actually make this work in the chaotic environment of a construction site, you have to obey what's called the sub-second rule. This is a strict operational requirement to perform end-to-end material classification in under 500 milliseconds, directly on the device itself. Why is this so critical? Well, if a worker is standing at a waste bin and has to wait around for a cloud server to think about it, adoption dies right there. Dead zones at waste bins require blazing fast local processing, zero friction.
In the hyper-specific Edge AI tech stack, making this happen is wild. We're talking about operationalizing a Google Pixel 11 Pro running Android 17, powered by the Tensor G5 Edge TPU. It leverages the LiteRT AI stack and turbo-quant compression to run massive AI models right there on the phone. Because this operates completely locally, no round trip to the cloud, it safely keeps all data on Canadian soil. This builds an unforgeable, sovereign data moat that easily passes strict data residency requirements.
Moving on to part 4, the digital refinery workflow. So how does it actually work? The step-by-step UI and UX workflow of the digital refinery application makes the invisible manufacturing of data completely tangible. Think of it like a digital factory line. It starts with an RFQ intake to transparently capture site parameters. Next, a certificate of origin is auto-assembled to clear customs. Step 3 is verification, a hold-to-seal cryptographic locking of the record using the device's own hardware root of trust. Step 4 handles compliance, reconciling provincial manifests. And finally, you get the output, a signed PDF dossier. The product coming off this line is trust.
And this really highlights how 905 Wood approaches this entirely as a hardcore SaaS business. Looking at their integration KPIs, you can see exactly how fiercely they guard against greenwashing through strict compliance. They aren't just out there snapping photos of wood. They're measuring lead capture rates, they're tracking registry connections, and using verifiable metrics to justify their premium rate in the market. The compliance spine here is absolutely non-negotiable.
All right, Part 5, Bridging to Biocarbon Markets.
This is where the Puro.Earth registry comes in. They are the world's leading durable carbon removal registry, having issued roughly 1.8 million carbon removal certificates, or CORCs. But here's the thing. They operate on a ridiculously strict 2025 biochar methodology. They absolutely demand audited, unforgeable provenance for their raw materials. If your feedstock is undocumented or contaminated, they reject it flat out, no exceptions.
So the data is literally the admission ticket. That 95-wood PDF dossier we just walked through, it is not just a digital receipt. It's the exact cryptographic evidence required to clear those strict Puro methodology gates. Without that data, the wood is just wood, and honestly, probably a liability. But with that data, the wood becomes the foundational feedstock for premium carbon removal credits. The 95-wood digital refinery is effectively the sentient bridge between chaotic construction waste and the high-purity requirements of the biocarbon market.
Which leads us to our final section, Part 6, The Data is the Product.
To really get this, we have to look at the real vulnerabilities of a data business transparently. What actually justifies 905Wood's premium? It's managing software risks, like methodology drift. You know, if the Puro rulebook updates, the data pipeline has to update immediately to stay conformant. Managing these specific recurring software risks is what proves they're a data company, not a waste hauling company. The asset is captured once and monetized many times. You manage a data company like a data company.
It all boils down to this one perfect quote right from the source material. The wood is how the data gets made. The data is what gets sold. By operationalizing the Google Pixel 11 Pro and that LiteRT AI stack, 95Wood's value shifts entirely to the DMRV provenance data cut. The data, not just the wood, is the product.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's all about securing Ontario's industrial leadership in the Canadian circular bioeconomy. By operationalizing this provenance data cut via Edge AI, they've created a functional shield against that 50% tariff wall. They have completely transformed what used to be a physical liability, just chaotic garbage, into a lucrative, recurring SaaS application service that keeps the value right here at home.
And I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If a closing border and a sudden tariff wall can instantly turn physical garbage into a premium digital asset, what other chaotic supply chains out there are just waiting to become pure SaaS data products? The physical world is full of liabilities, just waiting for the right data to unlock their true value. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.